Hi, this is Carl with another SOP video for managed service providers. Today I want to talk about trip charges and whether or not you have on-site minimums. Early on in my business in the 1990s, I considered having a trip charge, but I found that there was a lot of resistance to that. And in fact, even today, I see a lot of resistance to that in other businesses. Usually if there's a trip charge, people want to know that they're getting something for their money. So even some of the businesses that'll come and fix appliances and whatnot in your house, they often have a minimum of, say, $50 trip charge, which they will apply to any work that's actually done. And that way, they get paid to roll a truck. That's a very reasonable and rational thing. Most of us don't charge travel time in this business. I know people who do. Some people charge from the time they leave their office to the time they leave the client's office. That then allows them, for the next client, to track the time from when they leave office 1 to when they leave office 2, and so forth and so on. So everybody basically ends up paying for one-way travel. If you find that to be a reasonable solution, you should do that. What we did was to have a 1-hour minimum if you were within a certain driving area. And Microsoft Maps used to have this cool tool where you could say, where can I drive to in 20 minutes, in 30 minutes, in 60 minutes? And it would draw a map because it's not a nice circle. You know, there are rivers and freeways and odd neighborhoods and one-way streets and all kinds of things. So if you can figure out where is the area that you would have a 1-hour minimum, a 2-hour minimum, a 3-hour minimum, that works. We basically did roughly a 30-mile circle around Sacramento, California. That was a 1-hour minimum. Now, I do have to say that actually got squished down a bit when I had employees, because I realized that there were some far-flung clients who, even though they were technically in that area, if they only had a 1-hour deal, we really were lucky to break even. You know, I got to pay the technician to drive there, drive back, plus their time on site, and, you know, taxes and so forth. It adds up. So you have to make sure that what you're doing is always profitable. You know, having a standard operating procedure that guarantees profit is always a good thing. We also then serve the Bay Area. So from here, when traffic is light, hour and a half to get to the Bay Area, hour and a half to get back. But if traffic is not light, it could easily be 3 or 4 hours in each direction. And so you have to figure out, like, how long is this trip going to be? And so we had a 4-hour minimum in the Bay Area. So that's roughly, at the time, $600 to be able to say, all right, that's our minimum, is 4 hours on site. If you leave early in the morning, it's all good, but if you bunch up against rush hour coming home, it could be very, very bad news. So you have to figure out reasonable and rational policies. The thing that you have to remember is your clients want you to serve them, and so they don't really care as much about whether you do it on site or remote, unless there's a specific need for you to be on site. So more and more, travel charges make sense. Usually, if your norm is that you're going to be remote, but this time you have to be on site, some way to pay for that just makes sense. And you might have a flat fee, a $30 or a $50 travel charge, or again, figure out that timing from one client to the next, or simply have an on-site minimum. I love Excel, hope you do too. I encourage you to create a spreadsheet. Do the math on, say, the last month's worth of visits that were on site. What would you have gotten if you had each of these different plans? Look at them, compare them. They're probably going to be roughly the same, but make sure that whatever you do not lose money driving to and from your clients. For Small Biz Thoughts, this is Carl Polachuk, wishing you the best of luck in your managed service business. Here's your checklist for this video. Like, subscribe, Share it with your friends, ring that bell to make sure you don't miss anything, and visit us at sopforsmb.com.